to Artie Lang News Center and our expert analysis.
Live at motherfucking 5, over now.
Bombshell tonight.
A white man driving, a stuff in his face.
Artie Lang, Don Ho.
He's gambling on human lives.
Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen May. Breaking news from the Channel 8 newsroom. Eyewitness News has learned that comedian Artie Lang was found dead in his hotel room at the Hard Rock. Lang was in Las Vegas for the taping of the Howard Stern show. The hotel has confirmed his death and says that Lang's girlfriend found his body around 7 o'clock this morning. He was taken to UMC where he was pronounced dead. We are following this breaking story, and we will, of course, update you as new information becomes available.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
Look who it is. Artie Lang. Don't make me break my foot off in your ass.
Whenever we're ready. Yours, Richard?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. Richard?
Yep.
I don't know. I'm officially going to invite you into a new group I've started with Bruce Jenner. As you know, Bruce Jenner is a Republican. And we've started a group called Trannies for Trump. And yeah, he's a Trumpsexuals. And we'd like you to be a spokesman. It's gonna be all. I know you want to do all things Trump.
That makes me Kellyanne Conway, I think.
Seriously, does anybody talk faster than Kellyanne Conway? She looks like she shot pharmaceutical-grade coke directly into a vein in her neck before she does an interview. I mean, she must study every policy and just go, workers, migrants, keep jobs, consider.
There's a lot about. Well, what about what Jimmy Carter did? You know, that's one of the pivots. They're like, well, what about what Manson?
She knows everything. You know what she's like? She's like that guy from the old FedEx commercials who could talk real quick in the 70s. Like, Pittsburgh Pete, package for Pittsburgh Pete. Instead, it's about Trump's economic plan. Listen, how
reminds me, I remember when Martin Short, the famous 60 Minutes skit where he played like the sweating lawyer. Well, what about you? What have you done? You know?
Yeah, I'm not being defensive. You're being defensive.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Trump's president, and right now there's a Two Broke Girls marathon on, which means, I'm jealous of my father. You know why? Because he's dead. Honestly. If I know my father, the guinea from Newark that he was, if I saw him in the afterlife, I go like, Dad, all the dudes talk like chicks. Bruce Jenner is a chick. You got Trump's president. There's a Two Broke Girls marathon, and my father would probably go, Jesus Christ, what are you gonna tell me next? Is a black president?
Well, the real upset there of them all is that there are enough Two Broke Girls to constitute a marathon, right?
All right.
I mean, it's one of those shows, and there are quite a few like this where you don't know anybody who watches them, but they're on all the time.
Oh, I know, you're right. Like in the 70s, the show Alice was on 13 years. Did you ever hear anybody say, "Did you see Alice last night?"
Yeah. Well, I can't believe what happened on this week's Alice, you know? Or it's kind of like, when we finally met the mother and How I Met Your Mother, or Grey's Anatomy. Someone said to me, I was watching Grey's Anatomy, I'm like, on what? Like TBS? Like, no, it's still on. I'm like, on television?
Grey's Anatomy. I know. Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, that is really, well, again, it's America is, it's a different world now. You could get, the chick who invented or created Two Broke Girls is Whitney Cummings. Very nice girl, very sweet, very, very pretty. And she was like an open micer on the Stern Show.
I remember.
Talking about how I seemed standoffish at a gig where she had to open for me. Like, she was one of 3 people that opened for me. I said, I don't even remember meeting you. 2 days later, she could buy and sell me with a yacht, man. Because Two Broke Girls got on. And How I Met Your Mother, Neil Patrick Harris is the womanizer. That's what's wrong with this generation. He's this generation's James Caan.
And there's like How I Met Your Mother. You look at somebody like Jason Segel, really funny guy. You can't blame these people for doing these shows, but every once in a while, it's like I'll tune into these shows. Same thing with Big Bang Theory. I had to tune in because Jim Parsons won the Emmy 47 years in a row, right?
Right, I know.
He'd be up against the greatest comedic minds of our generation.
Right.
And I would watch it, and it was always the same show.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the same stuff was happening, and I'm like, it's supposed to be about these brilliant people, but they don't realize they're in, rules of engagement, just redone,
Well, in New York City, you talk about the Big Bang Theory, and you talk about some of these other shows. I think you mentioned one other show. So I think Two and a Half Men also is this guy, the Chuck Lorre. Okay, Chuck Lorre.
Yeah.
On the 6th Avenue in New York City, there's a famous clock that, with interest, it keeps constantly going forward and shows what our national debt is.
Yeah.
That has now changed to what Chuck Lorre's worth. He's got 14 shows in Syndicate. I mean, Two and a Half Men. If all he did was 4 seasons of Two and a Half Men, he'd have more money than God.
Oh my God! And I had not watched that again until you're clicking around until all the Charlie Sheen stuff broke, and I'm like, I got to watch this show and see is this the equivalent of McLean Stevenson leaving MASH? Is this going to be? And I watched it, and I was like, that show was more offensive than anything Charlie Sheen did in his own life.
Right.
I mean,
I know.
It was unbelievable. It was like this was on CBS at a fairly early hour, and every episode was whores and it was on, and I'm like, this is on TV.
Well, you know what? Charlie Sheen now has full-blown AIDS, and he looks like John Cryer.
Oh my God.
The guy in Two and a Half Men who looks like he has full-blown AIDS is perfectly healthy. And the kid is, of course, fat and looks like he has problems. The kid.
Well, he did have a lot of problems. Well, and John Cryer, too. I give him credit because he's one of those guys who was smart enough to say, I'm going to drive onto that lot for as long as you want me to play whatever the name of my character is. and he reminds me of, in the Bulls in the 1990s. You guys might remember, there was a guy named Jack Haley.
Sure.
Who was like he was a good-looking guy who was like a substitute, a bench warmer. And then he couldn't even play anymore, but he stayed with the team because he babysat Dennis Rodman.
Right.
And everyone would make fun of him, like, what is Jack? And I'm like, why wouldn't he do that?
Right.
If not, he'd be just a guy sitting in the 300 section trying to hit on lovables after the game. And he's like, of course he's going to keep showing up.
Well, and then, of course, you understand, show business and celebrity euphemisms as you get older and jaded, and you realize taking care of Dennis Rodman means he's blowing Dennis Rodman. No. Dennis Rodman is plowing his pie hole every night long.
Well, the amazing thing to me about all that was this was while Dennis Rodman was so out of control. And I was like, if that's a good job of babysitting him, what was he keeping him from doing? Ritual sacrifice before the game. Yeah, I got a handle on him. He's wearing a wedding dress, driving a motorcycle. Book signings.
He dyed his hair orange and blew up the Sears building. What was he gonna do? Listen, me and Dennis Rodman, obviously this makes sense. He felt me and him were like kindred spirits after being on the Stern Show a couple times. Our first trip to Vegas, I went out one night. I came out, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and I had a leather jacket on, a cigarette, and a baseball hat backwards, and jeans and work boots. I went there was so much badness in me. There was so much, I went into the steam room at the Hard Rock Gym, fully clothed with a cigarette.
Oh my God.
I just sat there trying to sweat all the badness out of me. There's another fat guy next to me in a towel who looked like, James Caan, but heavy with the hair on the back, just trying to take a schwitz. And he looked scared of me because I had a cigarette in the steam room. I think I was chain smoking in the steam room. And then who comes in, buck naked, is Dennis Rodman, completely nude, and sits in front of us, and it gives me a fist bump like he knows me from the Stern Show, gets up and starts doing deep knee bends, and then he bends over to touch his toes, and his asshole is right in the face of me and this other fat guy. And the guy says, you know him, say something. I said, I'm not saying shit to him. And then he starts pulling out his dick like it's a rubber band, and like going back and forth. I'm like, what does? I said, I don't care how famous you are. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And and then he got on the Stern Show, and I said, goof around. I said he has a small dick, and he got mad at me, called me at home, drunk, and so we changed that about a small dick for. I'm like, shut up. I said, look. If I look to my right, I'm going to see Filato. You're going to see Carmen Electra. You win.
Yeah, you're sitting around your Dennis Rodman and you're thinking, things to do tonight. Have sex with 4 hookers.
Yeah.
Polish my championship rings. Call Artie at home and make sure that we're cool about the size of my Johnson.
Yeah, that's my life without the rings. But again, what?
That's a good title for my life without the rings.
Well, I told you, man. The height of my career at Stern, with all the stand-up and everything, for 4 years in a row, I made about $4 million. That's what I made 4 years in a row. And talk about overachieving. My guidance counselor in high school told me I'd be a shepherd, and and I had every vice. Cheap whores, non-whores, blow, good blow, H pills, gambling on the Knicks, gambling, and I never ran out of money. I never came close to running out. What are Allen Iverson and Dennis Rodman doing? What are they doing?
You're right. It takes a special kind of stupidity and skill set to run through when you're getting into the 9-figure contracts.
Exactly, $100 million. I mean, okay, look, if you get convicted of a couple of felonies, which I was actually, but not like on the level they were. I think the entourage thing, maybe you get blackmailed. But here's the key, Richard, and you probably know this better than anybody. You've been smart with this, I bet. Divorces, bad divorces. Robin Williams technically was basically almost auditioning for sitcoms at the end of his life because of a couple of bad divorces.
Well, and unfortunately, too, all the stereotypes, often play out because we're talking about with a lot of these athletes. These poor steps, they end up with 11 kids.
Right, but that's absolutely.
And that's the other thing. It's like, how could you not, get that? You remember some of that. What was it, the HBO show where they asked the one guy to name his kids and he couldn't do it?
Cromartie. Antonio Cromartie on the Jets. Absolutely. Yep.
If you can't name them.
How about 2 of them have the same name? He forgot on Kid 13. Yeah. 2 are named Jersey.
Well, that's why George Foreman named all his kids George, because at least he could always name them, no matter what.
Right, the daughter's Georgetta. Yeah, and she's the only one who was as good a boxer as him. So, I tell you what, I have to ask you this. Okay, where do you watch the election? What goes through your mind when you realize he wins Florida? And what were you thinking at that point? Because it really is the most extreme I've ever seen the country in my life. Of course, on a divide. These kids on colleges are going nuts. And what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I actually watched it in my home office here. That way I've got access to all my computers and tweeting and shooting videos and all that stuff. And the day before, I was like everyone else. I said, as a gambling man, Hillary Clinton has this locked up. I really felt that way. But before we even started getting the returns, I had this feeling because you could see the people who were lining up in Florida and Michigan and all these swing states, even Pennsylvania. And all of the people lining up to vote on the day of the election were clearly Trump supporters. So all those early leads, and I'm thinking, well, because the truth is, older white people, they don't understand early voting. They think that doesn't count. They're like, I have to be there on election day. Right. So that early lead in Florida, you could just see it dissipating. By 7:15, I was texting and calling my friends going, you can fucking win this thing. Yeah. You could just see it come. But that said, it was still, to me, the strangest thing of all the news and politics and sports, everything I've ever covered in my life, it was the strangest night I've ever seen. It made O.J. and the white Bronco chase seem just like a walk in the park because everybody. Donald J. Trump, the check mark next to his name. And I wrote something about this. I'm like, look, yeah, I mostly vote Democrat, but I can understand why somebody would vote for John McCain or Mitt Romney or the Bushes or Ronald Reagan or Abraham Lincoln. But this was one where I was just like, I think everybody just underestimated how much, first of all, people are fed up, but also how much they hated Hillary Clinton.
Well, sure. All the stars aligned for him. He got the perfect person to run against. And first of all, he's lucky that that Assange guy hated her. If he hated him, if he hated him for some reason, it would have been the other way around. But he happened to hate her guts. And she loses Arkansas by a landslide. What does that prove? Anybody who knows them hates them. They've clearly fucked over so many people.
Well, and that happened. You go all the way back to 2000. and everybody talks about Florida, and Al Gore probably won. Al Gore lost Tennessee and Arkansas. He lost the president's state and his own state. If he wins those, he wins. And I look back, of course, I love to crunch the numbers, Artie. It was like, Donald Trump got pretty much the same amount of votes that Romney got and McCain got, but Hillary got about 10 million fewer votes than Obama got.
Wow.
A lot of Democrats were like, they didn't turn out.
No.
He didn't get some huge. He didn't ride some huge wave of support. He got the 62 million votes that Republican candidates have gotten over the last 20 years. She just didn't hold up her end of the bargain.
They just didn't go. And quite frankly, Colin Kaepernick is the fucking microcosm for all these shithead protesters, some of them. He didn't vote. He didn't vote, that guy. So it's like, well, what the fuck? What is your problem? You don't count then. You don't count. And so these people yelling and screaming, where were you election day? It's like,
and not to mention the fact that every place you saw the protests were areas where Hillary Clinton carried the day. So I'm in downtown Chicago. I live literally, I'm like 3 blocks from Trump Tower. You and I have been to the Trump Tower restaurant.
That's right, absolutely.
But in that area right there, it was about 75% Hillary Clinton. So they're marching downtown Chicago, screaming at a bunch of us who voted for Hillary Clinton.
That's hilarious.
And then you saw what I think it was Portland, out of like 175 people arrested, more than half hadn't even registered to vote.
Right.
Let alone voted for Hillary.
Right.
It's just insane.
Well, what that proves too about the country is these are just people with nothing to do.
Yeah.
They're latching on to, we're in rough shape just because, there's this new phenomenon that actually, I think one of the talk shows had it on. There's a lot of people. I know 2 friends of mine who are a little bit older than me, who have children who are about 18 years old now, and they've told them, like, the son is this one guy's son, great student. And he says to him, Dad, I realize that I cannot, with my skill set and even great grades, get a good job. I plan on just not really ever working because, they have enough money to support him. And a lot of his friends feel the same way. Like, I'm not going to take a risk and lose money on a business or something, or risk being disappointed because I put all my hopes and dreams in a career. I'm just going to just hang out on your cash, basically, and just go to Thanksgiving and have a happy life.
Yeah,
there's that's a mindset.
It is a mindset, and we're now going to sound like, I'm sure your dad sounded, my dad sounded, everybody does.
But it's a little different this time.
But
it's a little different.
I agree, because I do know this. Just dealing with working in local television, working in radio, working in newspapers, working in the media, and there's still all these great schools, including like Columbia College here in Chicago, and all these journalism kids who come out. And they're, for the most part, with a few exceptions, they're stunned that they're told they have to start at the bottom.
That's right.
I mean,
absolutely
cannot believe that you are telling them that they've got to actually go get coffee, that they've got to, run errands.
I know, man. That's it.
And the one that really kills me is they can't believe that you're going to ask them to, like, work on a weekend.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
The night shift, they're like, but it's Black Wednesday, and at Crowbar they have 3-for-1 on glow-in-the-dark shots. And I'm like, but you see, that's how, and then they'll, they and this, we've talked about this, they'll say to me, well, how did you start? And I go, well, I started at the top of the mountain reviewing movies. No, I started working, I worked as a night side reporter for the Sun-Times, where they'd literally send me to Englewood to cover crime. I answered the phone. For the real reporters. I did all that.
Like, listen, they think you're gonna go. Yeah, you know what? I got out of college and I drove to Chicago. Some guy met me and drove me to where Ebert reviews movies and said, "Sit here." And the first one is The Rainmaker with Matt Damon.
I mean, it's like,
you know what I mean? Yeah, you had to be like, and these fucking comedians on my level, they do. They think. Well, I'll tell you what happened. I was 19 years old. I drove to Manhattan. I met a guy on 38th and 7th. He drove me to the Stern Show and said, "Here's your chair." And we start at 6. They don't know the amount. You're right. I'll tell you why. Because with stuff like what people like me and you do on, first of all, on camera, and you're a great writer, of course, first, but you. They don't really. We have to make it look easy by the time we get to that level. It's got to sort of look like it is easy, but that takes a lot of work, and it looks casual. They don't know all the work that went into before you sat in that chair and I sat in the Stern chair.
Right.
A ton of shit happened first.
The 10,000 hours that
right.
Malcolm
Failure,
Gladwell
a lot of failure
about.
Failure and coming
You
back
have
from
to.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, people at small newspapers. When I was 22. 55-year-old editors at pretty crappy newspapers saying, I don't see a voice here. You're not a writer.
Right.
And you just go, you don't go, well, gosh, I guess I'm not. You go, well, screw you. I'll show you, and I'll keep writing on spec. I had somebody say this to me recently. You talk about, I just did, I've done 8 or 9 books, and I did kind of an Insta book on Kindle. I called it 666 Reasons Not to Vote for Donald Trump. and the great thing about Kindle is you can now change it. So now I just changed the title to 666 Reasons to Fear a Trump President.
That's great. Keep going with it.
but I was telling somebody in the media about this. I was saying, well, I wrote this like on weekends, my spare time, and she's like, maybe I should write a book. And you're just looking at like as if she were saying, like, maybe I'll try the seafood tonight. And you want to say, screw you.
Right, no, it gets you mad. It gets you mad.
Like, well, because it's like, well, Neil, maybe you, and I think it's Sarah Silverman who says, when people say it to her, maybe I'm going to do this. She's like, you're never going to do that because you're talking about doing that.
Right.
But
you're not doing it.
Maybe I'll get a radio show.
I know. Yeah. No, it's very like, well, I'm glad we're having this conversation because the kid in here with me tonight, Mario Bosco, that's what we're talking about.
Hello.
Mario, basically, I let him open for me at the Borgata, and he showed up, and I said, well, what's your act going to be? And he goes, I thought you were going to write it. That's basically what Mario said. I go, well, you know what? You're just never going to be a comedian. Because no one's going to write your act for you. You have to do it.
You're so right, Richard, about a lot of things you were mentioning.
Just shut his microphone off. So, honestly, I have to ask you serious, though, because you're a more political guy than me. Bill Maher, the night before the election and everything, and he had other people on. Like, a lot of Hollywood liberals are acting like, I'm not talking about Chelsea Handler, who looks like Tom Petty, by the way. The fact that she said out loud that she told her writing staff she was moving to Spain, and the entire writing staff has to somehow, they must need their health benefits so bad to say out loud, no, we need your voice, stay, which helps the people of Spain in an immense way. But here's what I fear about Trump. And again, this is not being political at all. I can't vote. I'm a convicted felon, as you know. I said to myself, Pence is the one I fear more because he's a religious nut. Trump was bullshitting those invalids. He's not religious. He doesn't know anything about the fucking, the guy would, screw over a plumbing contractor's kid if he could. This is, Pence actually said out loud once. Now, this is me, Richard, talking, and I'm offended by this, that he thinks homosexuals can be cured. Like, when you hear shit like that, that's fucking scary. And anyone thinking about overturning abortion, come on, man. That is like the religious nutty stuff. It's like with the difference between Saddam Hussein and a Bin Laden guy or the Ayatollah. These guys, Saddam Hussein was a gangster. You could deal with him. You could deal with him in money. He was just wanted money, pay him off, everything's fine. If you say to Saddam Hussein, look, here's $200 million. Get rid of these terrorists. There'd be no terrorists. No way. He'd blow them up. But when you get a religious nut, that's our problem. When somebody thinks they're going to get 70 virgins and they'll fly into a building, you can't fight that. And Pence, to me, is scarier in a way. So,
no, that's a great point because Pence is a guy who has been in the political arena, who really believes this stuff. And like you said, Trump, he's already like, wall, fence, maybe just a couple of keep out signs.
You're right.
He's not going to do most of that stuff.
Of course
not. And Pence is scarier because, you're right. I don't even think most of Trump's supporters were really falling for it. Like when he's holding up the Bible, and he's like, my favorite book, and you can see the Crocs and Brentano sticker on the back.
And they're both scary.
Yeah.
There's nothing funnier than Trump and Hillary pandering to black people. When Hillary said the one thing in her purse on that black radio station, when she said the only thing in her purse that she always has is hot sauce, I thought they were going to faintly have to. And Trump Trump at the Detroit church, when Trump is standing still and they're putting stuff on him like a piñata, they could have put anything on him. They could have put
and he would have believed
right.
It,
They could have put a pointy hat that said "I'm Mr. Poo Poo Pants" and just twisted him around and hit him like a pinata with a wiffle ball bat. He would have done anything they said to get votes.
Yeah, like when they asked him, to name a few of his favorite, biblical verses or citations, and he was like, Deathly Hallows, Sorcerer's Stone. Like, no, those are Harry Potter books.
Right, he said, he said Corinthians #2, like it's a sequel.
But to go to your point about Hollywood too, Artie, and this whole I'm going to leave the country, and this is one of the things, and it's easy to say in hindsight, but the last few days of the campaign, when Hillary was doing this victory lap,
right,
and she's talking about how Gaga, and
she was gloating. She was gloating, yeah.
And that, I was cringing watching that because you're not winning anybody's vote, and you might have some people going, screw her. She's already acting like she's won, and all these people in Hollywood, and a lot of people on Twitter who are acting as if this is the end of the world, and all these young people who are weeping. It to me, on top of everything else, shows a real naivete about how this system works in this country. Right. That they think that, that Donald Trump can just go in there and do anything he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just goes straight through. He didn't buy the country like a company.
Right, exactly.
And I wrote this column in 2008 because I was here in Chicago, and it was exciting, and, went down Michigan Avenue, 1 million people peacefully, just celebrating. And I wrote a column the next day saying, if you think all your problems are solved because Barack Obama is president,
no way.
The great thing about this country is, and people can talk about how they got screwed over by the boss or this or that, but the great thing is, it's really mostly up to you.
Yeah.
How you're going to do in this world.
Well, that's the thing. It's like in inner cities, and listen, people think this is a black thing. It's not. The rednecks in this country down south, they want to live off the government. It's like some people, when it gets cold out, want to get arrested because there's 3 hots in a cot. They get housing. The last thing you could give a lot of these people who seem poor but are healthy and ready to work, the last thing they want are opportunities for jobs, because then they can't bitch about why they don't have a job.
Well, that's exactly right. And a lot of people, who were, this very angry, silent majority who, put Trump in office. First of all, they're still as angry as ever.
Oh, yeah.
They're finding other things to be angry about. But wait until about 6 months from now, when there isn't a wall, and he hasn't figured out a way to put 12 million people on a plane, because he's not going to do that either. Yeah. And he's not going to overturn abortion. And he's not going to just be able to get, Ed Asner's character from Roots as a Supreme Court justice, And they're all going to go. They're going to be more pissed off at that, because the same thing happened when they voted in all these Tea Party candidates.
Right.
Here in Illinois, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they voted in a lot of these candidates who all ran on the whole thing. I don't know anything about how government works, and then they went to Congress, where they're one of more than 500 members, and they got an office next to the janitor in the basement, and they saw all the bigwigs making stuff, and they did nothing, because it doesn't. You don't get to say, I'm the junior congressman from the 13th district in Central Illinois. I have the mandate of 1,400 people. I'm going to change the country.
Well, there's red tape involved. It's like he can't, in other words, you're right. That analysis about buying a company is so true. It's like he's not going to just get up on January 21st and go to the head contractor on his job site. Tony, build the wall over there. It's not going to happen.
You can say anything you want about George W. Bush. You can say anything about how he was unqualified, but and again, I didn't agree with most of his policies, but you know what he did when he got in office? He goes, who are all those guys that work with my dad and Gerald Ford? I'm going to make those, I'm going to get all the guys who used to pat me on the head on Christmas, the grown-ups who would, be drinking brown liquor and then going out hunting, but they knew what but they knew they had experience.
I'll tell you what Trump should do. And what you just said is that's thinking logically. And if you can somehow get it through to these kids, maybe and I think the other thing, the protesting on the level it is with the amount of people, it proves something else that's depressing about the country. And that's these people really these kids don't have any direction. They have nothing to latch onto, no purpose. They're not focusing on a career or anything. So this is a thing to talk to them. Like at Thanksgiving, this is what they can argue with their parents about when they ask how they're doing. How's that job coming? Well, the job is to get Trump out of office, and I'm doing it. That's what they're doing. But I really think that Trump, if he was smart, would concentrate on one major issue and go like ape shit to make it happen, like and then point to nothing but that, like go so you could actually have a talking point. You could say, Flint, Michigan, still has shitty water. There was a report. It was the most frustrating thing ever. There's these poor families that are using bottled water to bathe their kids to go to school. That's still going on. It's just not in the news. He should say, I'm going to fucking put everything in to fixing Flint, Michigan. Or I'm going to take I'm going to take downtown Chicago and I'm going to build fucking schools that look like that Trump Tower, but where the Chicago Sun-Times used to be. And it's going to be, that's what, and at least you go, look, I did something real, where there's actually a constituency where the people in Flint go, he's the best president ever. And then maybe go, if other districts would use this example, because you're right, he can't get all that shit done he promised. It's impossible.
That's a great point. And most presidents, when they go in, come into office, they make that mistake of saying, I'm going to wipe the, that's what happened at the beginning of the Clinton administration. Hillary had a new plan for health care, and it got bogged down, and next thing you know, there's like almost a revolution, and they're shutting down the government. Right. But it was like a master of that, not to get not that I'm doing my version of Hamilton here at the history lesson, but the master of that was LBJ.
Sure.
Lyndon Baines Johnson, he got in office, obviously in the worst possible circumstances, but after he got elected,
and his thing was civil rights, right? He said, I'm going to go right.
But you know what? And he'd meet with King, and there'd be all this frustration because King would be, and he would tell him, I got to do one thing at a time.
Right.
Let me make sure those kids in Mississippi get into the college. That day.
Right, exactly.
Let me call off George Wallace's dogs. In Georgia. Let me do, and he did it one by one. For whatever reasons, he did it, but he knew how stuff worked because he'd been a congressman. He'd been a Texas legislator. He'd done it for 25 years.
With a smaller group, right? With a smaller group of people, exactly.
And he would explain, to people, you got to do it in small steps. You can't do, if you try to do too much, you won't get anything done.
Well, I point out my life. God was actually nice to me. He made me good at one thing. He made me good at one. It was either comedy or loading trucks. I knew kids who they could have been a model. They could have been a doctor, a lawyer. They were good with their hands. They could have been a carpenter. In other words, if they told you any profession, you would believe it. Like with me, if I say model, you're going to start to laugh for 4 years. If I say that, even all my cousins were carpenters, and my Uncle Frankie got them all carpenter jobs, and then I went there and I couldn't build a header or frame a house, so it was either comedy or unloading a truck. So I could focus on one thing. He made me like one thing and be good at one thing. And that's what you have to carpet. It's too much shit. In other words, Martin Scorsese, you know why Mean Streets was great, and you know why Taxi Driver was great? Because that's when he was only focusing on one thing. All of a sudden, you get a million projects because you're great, and what do you get? Vinyl. That's what you get.
That's exactly right. But
you're like after the pilot, the actor's like, this was great. Where's Martin? He's not here. He's in Rome with Leonardo DiCaprio doing Covenant Island 2.
But that's the thing we also see with the young generation. You see this in every half-ass award show and every commercial and every feel-good thing. Don't let anybody tell you can't be anything, and that's fine. When a girl's 7 and she wants to ride a unicorn to Mars, you should say yes, you can ride a unicorn to Mars. When she's 12, you got to tell her, we got to start talking about some backup plans. We're out of unicorns, and I've calculated it. It takes 75 years for you to get there. So maybe, but there's too much of that, and so even the people that are successful now think they can do anything, which leads us to Gigi Hadid on the stage at the American Music Awards, thinking that she's, the second coming of Carol Burnett.
Right. Someone told her she's funny. Yeah. Right.
I worked for a week on that, she told us, and I'm like, okay, that's dedication to your craft.
Someone's got, as a comic, you go, yeah, that makes me feel like shit. And in other words, you're right. Someone at some point in your life has to sit you down and go, you're acting like a jerk off. And some people clearly have no one's ever had that conversation with Ashton Kutcher. No one ever said, Ashton, you're being a jerk off, and then slap him in the face maybe. Like if a kid tells you when he's 10 years old, I want to play center for the Knicks, that's great. But okay, now let's have a scenario where you're not 6'11". can do anything in life if you put your mind to it. It should be you probably can't do anything in life. And how are you going to, Derek Jeter perpetuates that. He says everything that's a cliche. He tells kids, you put your mind to it, you can be anything. And look, if that were the case, I'd still have a mitt on outside Yankee Stadium going, when am I in, coach?
Yeah. And what you really need is people telling you over and over again, you can't do this. Because if that's going to be enough to discourage you.
Right.
And I tell those people, too, because people send me their writing samples, like, what do you think? It's like, first of all, I wish I had the time, but so if I tell you, this writing is kind of cliched, and, you really need to work on it, and they're gonna quit, then they were never going to be writers anyway.
Right.
If that's all it takes.
No, I know. Yeah, it's odd, man. But then, again, with especially with show business, it's at least with sports, it's there's no real nepotism because you got to be good. Like Barry Bonds, wasn't a great player because his father was Bobby Bonds. He was a great player because he's a great player. Jamie Lee Curtis probably would not be as big a star without Tony Curtis as a dad.
Yeah, but it's like give somebody like Tony Romo, not my favorite athlete, but for him to step up last week and say, you know what, this is Dak Prescott's team. He earned it, and he used the term meritocracy, which of course a lot of people said they had to look up and go, what the fuck?
Oh my God, yeah, Jesus, shut up.
But a lot of quarterbacks in that position, 36, 37, near the end of his career, a lot of success, would not say that. And he at least to his credit, he said, look, the guy earned the job. Who cares about this crap about, you don't lose your job to injury? Right. Why?
Well, yeah.
If a guy has your team at 9-1, and he earned the job.
Yeah. Well, the rap on him, of course, is warning track power with the championship. But that, look, if fucking there's a lot of quarterbacks who have proven that to be true. Troy Dilfer comes to mind. But it's a very frustrating world now. There are enough examples where people with nothing to offer become famous, and unfortunately, the big example are the Kardashians, where a lot of women say, "I could be her," and literally, she got famous from blowing a guy on a tape. I mean, that's an accurate statement, and then she rode that out.
Well, I did hear a few people saying it's true. It's like, how could you be surprised by a Trump presidency when Kim Kardashian has 30 million Twitter followers and is worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Did you not see the dumbing down and people like that? And I don't blame anybody in the Kardashian family for making all that money. I blame all the people that foolishly buy their crap.
Well, sure. I'll tell you what, the thing that's not talked about is that Robert Kardashian makes a damn good pair of socks. Boy, how that poor fucking kid. He's trying to get an identity, and then he's smoking weed with Lamar Odom one night and goes, "I know it. I'll reinvent the sock business." Nobody needs that to be done. I mean, look at those broads drive men crazy. If you're in that house for a little while, you either become a woman, you become a crackhead, or you become Kanye West. I don't know what's crazier.
I mean, and look at Kanye, the poor guy. The poor guy. But I mean, whatever he's going through. I mean, here's a guy who is on top of the world. Of the 6.5 billion people on the planet, he's got one of the 30 or 40 best lives, right?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And he's picking imaginary battles. Like, he's mad at Beyonce for winning a trophy.
Is that what happened? I don't even know that.
Just rambling on about stuff and canceling things, and it's just like he's got no one to fight because it's like be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And he actually has the Midas touch. Everything is turned to gold and platinum. Now he's on stage. He's rambling on. He's canceling concerts. It's like, what? Why?
I know. It really is. It's sad. Well, you could get too much. Well, you believe the hype. I mean, he's a classic example of a guy like the people who told Eddie Murphy he could sing and stuff like that. And you're surrounded by that at times. I think it's frustrating to be married to Kim Kardashian because every once in a while she accidentally butt dials everyone she knows, and you have to pick it up. I think. Do you think Kanye West set that job up in Paris? I think he needs cash, and he had somebody rip off her jewelry.
I mean, from the start that looked suspicious, but now there's footage and everything. It's one of those things where you're just like, when every inch of your life is filmed and you have security all the time. The one time it doesn't happen is when you have, $5 million worth of jewelry.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all I know is like usually when you hear the story about the robbers posing as police.
Right. I know.
It's either in a Fast and Furious movie or it's Ryan Lochte. When does that happen in real life? Never in Chicago do we hear, 5 armed robbers dressed as Chicago police officers.
Never happens that way.
No.
Yeah.
The guy that tries to impersonate the officer usually gets like a tin badge and a Cubs championship hat. It's the worst attempt ever to impersonate a cop.
Well, what are they going to tell us next? A glove was left with a P on it for the Pink Panther. No, it was a little too a little too neat. It was, but I can't imagine trying to have a conversation with one of those Kardashian broads. I mean, what are they? They don't seem like people, because nothing's real, and it's Kanye West is perfect for that because I can't imagine having a conversation with him. He's trying to reinvent something every time you see him. He's going to reinvent V-neck sweaters, and then he's going to reinvent rapping.
The kilt, the leather kilt is back. But you know that more often than not, Artie. It's like it's the adage about where you don't sometimes want to meet your heroes too, or people whose work you love.
Oh no way.
And sometimes, I've been lucky enough to do it, and it's been great. And then there have been other times I'm at dinner with, some legend, and I'm thinking, this needs to end, as fast as possible.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is sad. Like I've said to myself, I hope I never meet David Hyde Pierce ever. Please, I know he's gonna.
Let me tell you something. He set the table for Neil Patrick Harris to play a straight womanizer in a long-running sitcom. My friend.
Yeah, even in that Gone Girl with Ben Affleck, he plays Clint Eastwood for Christ's sake. He was nice to me though. My beer gut was so big at the Celebrity Direct TV Bowl that he tied my shoes for me.
There you go.
Yeah, and from a weird angle, it looked like something else was happening. And Deion Sanders gave me a look, I don't know, just don't belong in the locker room. It looked like I was dating Neil Patrick Harris. It looked like I was agreeing to start at the bottom.
Hey, do you have time for me to tell you a quick? Speaking of meeting your hero story that worked out really well.
Go ahead.
It just happened. In fact, you can see the article on the Sun-Times website now. But a couple of weeks ago, Warren Beatty was in town because he's got this new movie out.
Sure. He plays Howard Hughes, right?
Plays Howard Hughes, yeah. And we had dinner. It was just the two of us. He had a little security and stuff. But
that's great.
And then the next day, we spent most of the day together, and some of it was on the record, some off the record. But I mean, Warren Beatty, come on, right?
Right. That's unbelievable.
So he was great. I mean, he's almost 80.
Right.
So you're like, okay, is he going to be kind of a little bit, doddering or whatever?
He's Warren 80.
But he had, I mean, so many great stories. But you realize his whole life is he's not name dropping. That's just his life.
Right. Exactly.
So Dan will know this. So in Chicago, there was Cup was the legendary gossip columnist for 60 years, right? And he had this TV show called Cup Show for 35 years.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Oh, and people got to look it up on YouTube because it was amazing. It was on PBS here in Chicago. And the idea, and Cup was terrible. He was fantastically terrible as a talk show host. He also did the Bears games and he did the Cubs games.
Right.
And he was, but the great thing about the show was he could get everybody because he had such clout. So they actually had shows where his guests would be like Malcolm X, singer John Davidson,
wow,
and the comedic stylings of Judy Carn.
That's
and
great.
then you give it whoever was in town. So Warren Beatty tells this story. It's like 1970, and he's like, "So I'm doing Cup Show," and he goes, "You knew Cup?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Warren, I knew." He goes, "Great guy, wonderful guy." So we're having a wonderful time there, and Bob Hope's on the show too. Did you know Bob Hope? And I go, "Well, not like you did, Warren, but I met him." Everything he says is like, "Did you know?"
But what a show! Bob Hope and Warren Beatty on the same show. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, right. On a local Chicago television show. So. And Cup, he would ask, he'd ask anything. So at one point he says to Warren Beatty, well, and Cup would say, you kind of talk like Georgie Yesso. So he says, he asked Warren Beatty, what do you think about the war in Vietnam? And Warren at that point was campaigning for McGovern. Very out there. And Beatty says, well, I think it's an illegal war. I think we should get the troops out immediately. I think we have no point in being there, no purpose in being there, no right to be there. And 19-year-old young men are being sent home in body bags. And Cup's like, well, on that note, let's take a commercial. And so Warren goes off to talk to the crew or whatever, and he sits back down. They come back to the commercial break, and Warren says to Cup, what happened to Bob Hope? Oh, he left. Because Bob Hope at the time was doing specials with the actual name of
that was the
very. He actually did a special called "A Very Vietnam Christmas" with Bob Hope. So he would go out there, and if you look it up, he actually did specials with names like that. So Bob was going out there with Joey Heatherton, and doing the special. So Warren says, he looked up, where's it? He goes, never talked to him again.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my God.
Bob, he left. Bob just left.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Listen, he was taking out of Bob Hope made a lot of money off those specials probably too.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Well, that is so. The Vietnam ones with Bob Hope are the funniest ones to watch because he's there with like Charo and she just has no idea what's going on. And the real show should have been him sitting next to Jane Fonda on top of one of the enemy's missiles.
Oh my God, they existed. Those specials existed in that weird parallel universe, like Gomer Pyle, which was on from like 66 to 70, and he was a Marine, and they never once mentioned that Gomer was probably going to get his ass shot off in a rice paddy. It was just like in the Bob Hope specials, he'd be like, hey, this is Bob Hope's Saigon excursion. I mean, they were just like making weird jokes about it. They showed that,
when you get to meet, when you get to like, you talk about meeting your heroes and stuff. When you get to meet people in show business, like a story I have that's comparable to that is I got to know Tom Waits a little bit because I did Mystery Men with him. This awful movie, but we worked together for a week, and we had the same teamster who drove us home, and he's the guy. I might have told you that story when I had this. He wrote the song "Jersey Girl" that Bruce made famous, and I always wanted to ask him. I had these romantic notions about the song, and the last night, I kept telling the Teamster driver, Scott, I want to ask him about this. So I just ask him. So he was at the Sunset Marquee, and I'm at the Mondrian, and they drop him off first, and I go, Tom, I don't want to bug you, but that song Jersey Girl, I love it. What's that about? And I had this romantic notion of him on a beach in Seaside, and he looked back like a throwaway line, like annoyed with a cigarette, and said, my wife's from Newark. He just walked out. And the Teamster, Richard is giggling and went, that go how you thought it was going to go? Which was amazing, but okay, I actually have a topper for that. Okay, about 6 months later, I'm in the Sunset Marquee, and I'm at the Whiskey, and I see surreal thing could only happen in L.A. I know. You know what? I'm happy. I'm so glad I'm telling you this too because you'll appreciate it. I know I never told you this before because I just started telling it on the air. I see Julian Lennon trying to pick up a girl underneath a picture of John Lennon. All right?
No.
Okay, a foot right above him is a picture of Lennon in the I Love New York City T-shirt in Central Park, and he's picking up and he's hitting on it. He's working it. Tom Waits was at the bar, and he was 3 feet from us. We're talking to somebody else, and me and my buddy Teddy, who worked out there, a comic who works in advertising, which is a unique breed. But he had a client. So, but a real great guy, and he can't believe I knew Tom Waits, and that we're watching this, and it's hilarious. We see Julian Leonard. So he's getting nowhere with this broad too. She's young, doesn't really know who he is. Probably never heard of the Beatles or whatever. And Tom Waits walks over, like stretching, clearly going up to his room, and the guy go, "Hey, Tom," and the only thing he says to us is he points to Julian Leonard and goes, "How long before you think he points to the picture?"
Wow.
He was totally in tune with what we were in tune with. I didn't even know if he noticed it. But he could tell we were obsessing about it. And he goes, "How long before you think he points to the picture?" I would have pointed the first of all, I would have told her Jessica Lange, my mother. I would have started with that. Talking about bullshitting. I made out with a chick who I told I wrote Jurassic Park, a true story, and just made out with her. But yeah, think about that. Well, you're talking to Warren Beatty, and he's telling you a story about Puck about your Bob, but walks out because he says that's like stuff that for a minute you're in that world. You're in the world of what you always dreamed of being in, and you're talking to these people. It's great.
Well, he would say, he's telling me, like, well, I did this movie called Splendor in the Grass, and I started dating the girl, and I go, you mean Natalie Wood? Yeah, Natalie, great girl. Did you know her? I go, no, didn't know her.
He dated everybody. Didn't he date everybody that he did a movie with? He dated, right? I mean,
he makes all these guys seem like amateurs. He actually told me a great quote, because he got married when he was 54 to Annette Bening.
Right.
And he said, my whole career in the 60s and 70s, Julie Christie, Goldie Hawn, you name it, Diane Keaton,
right.
Joan Collins, when she was, like everybody.
Unreal.
And he goes, everybody kept saying, I was afraid of marriage. He goes, no. He goes, I was afraid of divorce. I saw 4 coming down the road, so I waited until I was 54 till I got married.
That's
and I'm
hilarious.
like, you're a fucking genius.
Well, that's right. He should be, because what did I say? Like, the bad divorces is how you get people, because I don't care. It's clear. I don't care how thick the fucking prenup agreement is. If some hooker you marry says, during pillow talk, you promised me a yacht, that's it. That's enough for a lawyer to go, we're going to court. It doesn't matter. It's if you have kids, but... just the fact that you meet the guy from Splendor in the Grass, and it's real, and he does. Everybody he co-stars with, this movie that's out now where he's Howard Hughes, I heard he's fucking Matthew Broderick.
Maybe a possible fling at that.
Yeah, because he was wearing clogs one day. I tell you, I can't get enough of Dawn. Well, Howard is proof that it sometimes it's okay to get to know your heroes. In my case, you just don't want to get to know them for 8.5 years. You don't want them to get tired of it.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, though, because on not an 8-year level, but it's like, so like we really did. We hit it off. Like I said, took Warren Beatty to this steakhouse in Chicago.
That's great.
And then the next day, I actually at one point turned off my recorder because I was done. Then he was like, so what else is going on? And I'm like,
that's so funny. Your recorder was rejecting interesting stories.
but it was like I had so much great. And then he was like, hey, listen, the next time you're in LA, I want to have you over for dinner. And I'm thinking, first of all, his wife's going to kill him, But and he's like, look me up, and here's my number. And there's a part of me that goes like, I think I want to just leave it at this. Next thing I know,
perfect.
I'm some mansion in Bel Air, and Warren can't work the TiVo.
You're right.
That's
a great way to put it. Yep, that's a great way to put it.
You know what I mean? It's like it's a little too much then. All of a sudden.
No, why don't we leave it at that? Andy Richter had the greatest quote about like Howard talking about you on the air. Andy said, "You don't want Howard to talk about you for too long."
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's
because
exactly
eventually you start to aggravate him. But I have to have the record. I didn't start to aggravate him until 6.5 years. Like that's a record.
But the fun thing for you is they keep replaying all the good moments and all the bad ones for the rest of your life.
Well, I'll tell you why, because it's all request, baby.
Yeah.
But they tell you, Art, that's like being on a sitcom because you repeat it and it is. It's a double-edged sword because I go to these gigs, I still do stand-up, and these guys listen to those reruns and they think it happened that morning. They yell stuff out from the show.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, I don't know what you talk. I forget what you're saying. I don't know. I don't remember that bit from 2006. The drugs I've done. You do Sal's emotional voice. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But wouldn't it be funny if Warren Beatty said to you, Richard, you're a movie buff, right? Yeah. What's my wife's name?
Help me out here. What was it? I did a movie about conditioner once. What was it called? Help me.
I need some help. I said to nobody, I'll end with this because it's appropriate. I said to them, yeah, being on the Stern Show with the reruns, it's exactly like being on a sitcom, but just one guy gets paid. That's the problem. It's like if you're Matthew Perry and only David Schwimmer's getting the money. Well, listen. As always, this was fantastic. I love you. You got to come back. Come on the air. I think
give us one movie to watch.
We're going to Chicago. By the way.
Always, I was just going to say, to cover Dan here. I'm glad we talked for 56 minutes about holiday movies.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Because Dan doesn't need a fucking movie. He sees every movie, for Christ's sakes. He's going to see whatever you're going to recommend. He's the only guy who sees movies he knows he'll hate. And like, why did you fucking see it? I think it's because of camaraderie. But what was Santa? Was Santa Bad Santa too good?
Oh, Dan knows this. I went straight from that screening and talked to you, and this is the year of the long-awaited sequel. Like, they keep doing these sequels from movies from 15 years ago. Right. Like, My Big Fat Greek Wedding and the Independence Day sequel and Barbershop sequel. All these sequels are from movies like 20 years ago, and in most cases, it doesn't work to pick up the story 20 years later. And in this case, I loved the first Bad Santa.
Right.
It's funny. It was shocking. It was all, and now it was sad to watch them try to do that again. And one of the things that I hated about it, on top of everything else, they set it in Chicago, but they filmed it in Montreal.
Yeah, that's the worst.
You know, and so like, let's take the 3 establishing shots of Chicago. Hey, there's the skyline. There's Wrigley Field. There's Water Tower Place. And now he's walking in front of like the transit system is right here. It's like, you know, just that lazy kind of filmmaking. And Billy Bob's, you know, phoning it in. It's the same kind of story, and all the attempts to be like offensive, they're just not funny. It's not that they're more offensive. It's just like, well, that happened 15 years ago.
Right. They're
so bad.
They're mailing it in. Well, me and Norm Macdonald shot Dirty Work in Toronto. It's a true story. It was supposed to be like a New York type city we were in that Toronto was doubling for. And we dirtied up a street to look like a New York street where we lived. And then we went to lunch. And when we came back, the city of Toronto had cleaned up the street.
That's Toronto.
Can you believe that? And then, you know, I can't believe it. Exactly what you just said. I was at the Montreal Comedy Festival, and they wanted me to tape a bit where I'm going around asking like homeless people from New York for money, and the bit was supposed to be they think I'm homeless or something. And well, every homeless person had a French accent. I said, this guy sounds more successful than me. You know, this guy sounds like the billionaire villain in a Bond movie.
Yeah, the street musicians are like, well, I graduated from Juilliard. I took home $712 today.
You sound way more successful than me. Give me a sawbuck, Pierre. All right. Richard, it's great. So Bad Santa, no. Is there a recommendation right now for the holidays? What's good?
Yeah, there's a lot of great movies coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be glad to come on again and talk them in detail. But one movie I want you to check out, Artie, and I want your listeners to check out is Manchester by the Sea.
Oh yeah,
which
great.
You know, and people go, oh Jesus, you know, it looks like it's about some heavy stuff, but so what? Most movies are.
Sure.
And it's so well done, and it's about Casey Affleck, who's always been a really good actor, but like all of a sudden he's got a leading role, and he's Oscar worthy, and every little detail about this working class, you know, village in Massachusetts, which is actually called Manchester by the Sea, which is like a fishing town.
Yeah.
But it's like anybody who comes from a working class town where everybody knows everybody else and everybody has kind of a shorthand, and if something bad happened 18 years ago, they never let you forget it. This movie like hits on all of that perfectly. It's so well done.
That's great. Well, the kind of people that ain't voting for Hillary because of Kanye. But again, that Casey Affleck, I always said that because even in Good Will Hunting, he's very good in that. In the smallest of roles, he's funny, and every line he nails them. So Danny saw it and said it was great.
I thought it was great. What'd you think of Bleed for This?
I thought it was really good. I thought, and Miles Teller's not always my favorite actor because I think he's one of these young actors who's like, look at me, but he did a really good job. And again, talk about, working class, Providence, Rhode Island, but I thought he did a really good job as Vinny Pazienza. And that story is crazy when you look back at it. It's the only, I mentioned this in my review, every boxing movie has the obligatory training sequence where the crusty trainer who's trying to get redemption and the fighter is getting off the mat.
Right.
But this is the only one where a guy's wearing a halo screwed into his head because his neck has been fractured.
Oh, God.
And all that happened, I mean, it's crazy. The guy, got his neck fractured, and a year later was in the ring with Roberto Duran.
Right.
Because he was insane.
That's unbelievable. Every one of those movies has a trainer. Someone's telling you to crap thunder.
Well, yeah. Well, Aaron Eckhart plays Kevin Rooney, his trainer in this movie, and Kevin Rooney was Tyson's trainer.
Yeah, Rooney's the tough guy. He had the stroke, right? The guy had the stroke. Yeah.
Well, Rooney was the guy that also, he got DUIs and everything, so, Tyson got rid of him.
Right.
If Mike Tyson says, you're a bad influence on me, you got to take stock of your life.
Yeah, but again, that's what said get rid of him is Don King got rid of Kevin Rooney because Kevin Rooney was the only guy that Cus D'Amato had taught how to handle Tyson, and Kevin Rooney got squeezed out by Mr. America, and Tyson's in the joint, and Don King's on his yacht, and that's what happens with so many fucking. Don King is the devil, and Muhammad Ali said it himself. He said, "Don't fuck with King." And I didn't know the kid who plays Pazienza. I said, where do I know that face from? And I finally figured out it's a poster in Dan's room. I said that.
Oh, get out of here.
You love that guy. How about the Cubs, dude? We got to ask you, a White Sox fan, about the Cubs. Is it sickening being there as a Cub fan or what?
No, the only reason it's not is because they're like the best group of guys. I mean, the way they play the game.
They are.
David Ross. The story about 39-year-old backup catcher who becomes this folk hero.
Amazing.
Anthony Rizzo, the first baseman, is one of the coolest guys that I've ever met in the bit. So it's like I can't really root against them. I mean, in the meantime, the White Sox are announcing they're going to hire Eddie Stanky to be their manager in 1964 all over again.
Well, listen, Eddie Stanky's got a perfect last name from what I hear. But I tell you what, Anthony Rizzo. It is amazing how the first baseman for the Cubs, Richard. Could you imagine telling him the story about Cup, Warren Beatty, and Bob Hope, and he doesn't know who all three of them are. But he's a world champion for the Cubs. But this is typical Chicago fan. Dan wins. First of all, living with Dan while the Cubs had that season, I can't even tell you the noises that would come out of the room. Where I would put him like in an enclosure, and I would hear motherfucker, and I go, what happened? He goes, they just walked somebody in the first inning. What? Fucking is the first inning. Calm the fuck down. If they could lose, he would leave. He wouldn't watch the top of the ninth. I go, where are you going? He goes, I can't watch the game. And I go, what? The Cubs win 108 years. They're waiting for him. He celebrates for 2 seconds, and now today he's pissed off the fucking Cutler and the Bears lost. I'm like, the Cubs are champs. Who gives a shit? Calm down.
The thing. That's the thing. This is the thing with Cubs fans. They have worn that for so long and loved that. Now that they're the Yankees now. They're a team with a huge payroll.
That's right.
They're a monster, so it's like, and that Cubs fans are almost not comfortable with that. That 7th game when the Indians were coming back. Of course, as a Sox fan, deep down, I was rooting for the Indians. I really was. And I was like, oh my God, if the Indians win this is going to be the greatest thing ever because these guys.
That's great.
But now that the Cubs won, it's almost like, well, what do we do now?
That would have been great if the Indians win and the White Sox fans have a parade.
The other classic thing is the city of Chicago. They always do this. So they estimated for the Cubs parade and rally that there were 5 million people.
Right.
And they said it was the 7th greatest attended event in the history of civilization. and I'm sitting out there. I'm at Grand Park. Now, Grand Park, it's a fairly big venue, but it's not huge. And Lollapalooza gets about 200,000 people there, and then it's filled up.
Yeah.
But 5 million people. By my calculations, every person there would have to have 7 people standing on their shoulders to hit the 5 million mark.
Yeah.
They were like, it's just behind the pilgrimage to Mecca of 1912. No, it's not.
It sounded like Sam Giancana told you the numbers. They were a little inflated. Yeah, no, right, exactly. But the bigger the story out of Chicago the next day was everyone who attended that got shot. Every single person. Well, listen, it was nice to see. But you guys are White Sox fan. You got to hate that. The celebrities, the fake fan celebrities all go for the Cubs. Like Bill Murray's clearly the real deal. But, there's a lot of people who, the fourth lead from, John Cusack standing for serendipity all of a sudden is a Cub fan.
There was a lot of that. And Murray's always been there. Murray used to be in the booth with Harry Carey, and that's fine. But you see these actors I'd never heard of. And the great thing about 2005 when the White Sox won, I know I've told you this, but the great thing for me was, the truth is the Cubs do have a lot of, Eddie Vedder, and they got the big time.
Oh, Eddie Vedder was getting on my very last nerve. Oh my God.
Yeah, and he's but like when the White Sox were winning in 2005, they're scrambling right at the national level, and they figured out it's me, George Wendt, Dennis DeYoung from Styx, and that's it. Those are the only White Sox fans.
Good for you.
So it works to my advantage. So I'm Joe Buck, and here's Richard Roeper, famous Chicago White Sox fan. Where if I'm a Cubs fan, I'm like, you can get a standing room only ticket. Have a good time.
Absolutely. And everybody's changing, sacrificing their art. Like Eddie Vedder, I think, said in an interview that the song Jeremy was about Jeremy Piven, and that really. That really disappointed me. Jeremy Piven.
It's fantastic.
Well, listen, I love talking to you, buddy. That's true. We got come. It'll be a good excuse for you to come back on.
Absolutely.
Talk about the holiday movies.
I'm up for it.
And what do you got? What's your web, Twitter, or anything? What do you got for us?
Just at Richard Roeper at Twitter and richardroeper.com. You get all this stuff right there.
Yeah, you will be entertained. The greatest guest ever, Richard Roeper. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man. As always.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Great guest, Richard Roeper. And
he is good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have fun. You know what? You were great. You were great during that interview.
Why? I didn't say anything.
That's what I mean.
But
try to do that. Try to do that. Like, try to do what you did in that interview. What are you looking at me for?
But
I mean,
he tells great stories, and he.
We're back. Back at this. No, I know. Yeah, I know. The greatest thing happened. The greatest thing happened. The doorman downstairs is a new guy. Mario buzzed up and he goes, "Should I let her up?" And he said, "Who? She wants to come up, Charlie." And I realized he's saying that he thought Mario was a broad. Don't you feel disgusting that you look that effeminate?
No.
You look so effeminate. Because you're wearing an effeminate jacket.
I'm not wearing a feminine jacket. I'm wearing a regular winter coat from Zara.
But no guy takes the time to do
Mouse-free.
those. What construction worker has to look at that?
Who dresses like a construction
It looks like
worker?
you put together a bow tie for every fucking thing there. What is that?
Bow tie. It's a turtleneck, you spoostad.
By the way, Dan's struggling to write down. Were you pissed? Yeah, I don't understand this. White Sox left Chicago.
Remember I told you that the ESPN, when they had the Chicago
Dan,
championships?
no, I don't.
They left the White Sox
You
off.
got to be more specific. I don't know what the hell that said. By the way, we have to discuss. All right, I have real dry hands from diabetes, and in the winter they're terrible. And I'm going to the doctor tomorrow, and he might tell me. That's why I say I might have 6 months to live. But that's fine. It's going to be the Dan and Mario show after that.
No, it's not, because you're not going to die.
No, it's not because you suck.
I'll talk to the doctor.
I'm kidding. What is that going to do? You're like the Godfather with Jenko. Pull some strings, Godfather.
I'll pull some strings.
There's nothing I can do for you, Jenko. You're fucked. you had too much cholesterol. That's it. You're fucked. So there's this gimmick that my sister and Danny actually told me about, where you put Vaseline in an asshole. No, you put Vaseline in gloves, and you put your hand in the gloves, and you sleep with them. So Vaseline's on your hands for the whole night, and it does work. They're way better. But so I said, Dan, pick me up if you can, if you get a chance, because he's the only one who leaves the house. I said, pick me up if you get a chance. Go to the hardware store and get carpenter's gloves. And I figured, Dan, maybe he's a man's man, whatever. He gets one pair of brown gloves. It looks like carpenter. The other pair of gloves he gets, I don't know. Like Bruno Mars backup singers, I think wear these. These are bedazzled orange.
They were in the men's section at the hardware store.
Gay men are men. Yeah. Wait a minute. I have to show you these. Again,
I figured
Mario's fruity too.
They would hold the Vaseline better.
I'm not fruity, okay? How come I don't hear this headset?
Well, maybe because you unplugged it or something. I don't know. You were the one that told me to turn it down.
Okay.
Can you hear it now?
Now I hear it.
All right. That was Dan. Turn it down. It's too loud. It's too loud.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry.
I could not wear these gloves ever. Look at these. These are bedazzled orange. And first of all, what did you say about them? You figured what?
They would hold the Vaseline in there better.
Okay, that's the best. Just isolate that. We're discussing why something's not gay, and he said the sentence, "I figured they'd hold the Vaseline better."
But they're not.
That's the most disgusting thing. Mario, do you notice we're not considering talking?
I think those are construction workers.
These are what you wear at fucking gay school.
No, they're not.
Dan, these are orange, bright orange with white stripes. I wouldn't wear these.
They were at the Ace Hardware.
The only reason I wear these is if my father would actually see this and come up from the dead to beat me up. To gay bash. They were at Ace Hardware. They were They were at Gates Hardware.
In Hoboken.
In Hoboken. What does that mean? Hoboken. Look around you. Who's living? Hoboken's not tough anymore. Hoboken's a bunch of fruity yuppies from Indiana with finance jobs. Modern day pilgrims live here.
They're
Look
like
at this.
Michael Jackson gloves.
Yeah. Case in point. Case closed, Dicklick. Well, you're defending
Shut
their
up, Maria.
manliness? Yeah,
No,
Ace.
but they're nice gloves. I would wear them.
Case closed again. So Michael Jackson.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll return those.
Yeah, no
They're
kidding.
not from me.
Sorry.
You look like Anne Frank. You look like, you know what you look like? You look like Anne Frank Vincent. Anne Frank Vincent. Anne Frankie Pantangeli.
And I understand why Dan liked those gloves, because the crevice, right? The milk and crannies, it could put the best.
Crannies.
Whatever, like an English muffin.
You're not even, when you try to be a guy, you suck too.
But you put the the glove in with the Vaseline.
I'm going to leave you to it. I'm
what
going to
I
say,
thought.
I'm going to leave you to an assignment.
I know what you
I'm going to leave you
meant.
to an assignment. Talk like guy. You think guys talk for 2 years. Just alone. And I guarantee it'll be like, ooh, look at the extra crannies.
Would you mind if they were red and green?
They're the color of Trump's hair.
I got brown ones, dark brown ones.
How'd they get brown?
The other ones.
Now I know. Now I know those gloves got brown.
Yeah. The other ones, I didn't think would fit your hand.
Wait a minute. The brown gloves are what they look like. These are what they look like new. The brown gloves are what they look like after they've been used. After Dad gets a hold of them for a weekend.
I walked out on the cold to get your gloves.
No, you walked into this like a beach.
Good job, Danny. Good job.
So what? Well, how long are we talking for there?
An hour 10.
Oh, you see that happens. That's what happens when you shut up.
Don't tell me to
No, all right. First of all, Danny McGrath, my buddy, the bad cop's going to Uber you home tonight. He's coming at 1:00. Are you into that?
Who is?
I just.
You just said it.
I didn't hear.
Danny, the bad cop. He's coming. He drives Uber.
He drives Uber, bad cop. As long as he makes a pit
He's
stop to
taking you home.
McDonald's, I don't
He's
care.
taking you home. I can pay him in Coke.
We pay him in Coke. Was he Mexican?
That's terrible. Every once in a while, the only thing that could happen is sometimes his eyes fall into his sockets. We'll see. If he takes a turn too quick. All right, ready? We ready?
We're ready.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We were just doing the commercial. I was free associating comedy like Rob Williams, and that's when Rob Williams used to steal everybody's jokes and free associate. But I won't talk ill of the dead. All my stuff is off the top of my head. It's original. I'll be using it as Barnes & Noble something.
You're a genius.
Oh my God! Get out of my ass.
Oh, shut
If you
up.
see if you're in my ass, get those orange gloves. The bedazzled. I'm going to tweet those, by the way. I'm tweeting out a picture so you know what I'm talking about. Dan, you
At
got
least tweet the brown ones.
you got those in Bed Bath and Beyonce.
Well, I shop at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Beyonce?
No, Beyonce, Bed Bath & Beyond.
Nobody
the
gives
store.
a shit. What do you think? That's like a little store nobody ever heard of, like a fucking like secret.
I buy my cure.
Billions of store people. Yeah, so the odds are everybody's been in
Hey,
one.
Dan, you want to go shopping with me Black Friday?
Black Cock Friday?
I'm busy.
It's not Black Cock Friday, is it?
Are you going out on your own?
What are you talking about?
Black Friday shopping. It's the biggest shopping season of the
Yeah, if you're a chick. If you're a chick,
Where are you going?
We're going to Bed Bath & Beyond. We're going to Aces.
You know what? I'm a man. You know what I know? I know Black Tuesday. Well, we got attacked by the Huns. When the Sicily got attacked by the Moors. Which is why you got dark coloring.
Hey, I'm Sicilian.
I know Black
That's what I
Sunday,
mean.
the movie.
That's what I mean. Black, you know what happened? Well, you were a little too close to the tip of Africa down there. Little too close. So a bunch of pirates make a wrong turn, and before you know it, woohoo, it's a party. Before you know it, Mama Leone's got an afro. Ladies and gentlemen. Let's get political for a second. No, I was doing an impression of the guy Chick and Manny Rod, who were the two older longshoremen I work with, and they would say the dirtiest things that come out of a human being's mouth, and they would make them up. They would like mash up dirty words. They would go, "I'll kick your cock through your cunt lip." you fucking dick stain. I'll kick your cunt through your fuck rag. You fucking fuck rag dick twat. I don't give a shit, wad. I'll kick your fucking fruity cocklick through your goddamn dick cunt. You fucking prickwad. I don't give a stick fucking cocklick. I'm fucking breaking balls. I can't break balls. That'll be the fucking cock day. I can't dick fucking break balls. Are you talking to Manny Rod? You know who Manny Rod? Yeah. I grew up around the block on New York Avenue. Right over there by Garfield Street. Right over there by Garfield Street. Where's Garfield Street? The place I first fucked your mother. I don't give a fuck if you're from Indiana, you fruit Harvard frick. You fucking prickhead. Go test the orange juice with your fucking cocklick white jacket on. I'll fucking beat you again in speech, as you cuntlick. Fucking goddamn Harvards for fucking fag fruits. Yeah, you owe me $8,000. Where's that coming from, Dick Stain? I'll kick your fucking kids out. I'll turn your 8th grade daughter out on the street, you fuckwad. I'll clean her pussy and make fucking Puerto Ricans fuck her. I'll mash her up. People will be eating her in cheeseburgers, not even fucking know it. You get me? You dick-licking fuck stain with a cock lick? I don't give a shit if you're offended. I don't give a fuck if that's your daughter. Fuck her. Who? Tell her to stick her fingers in her ears. Yeah, tell your daughter to stick her fingers in your ears. She can't put them in her ass because I got mine there. I don't give a fuck if that offends you. Fuck off. Your daughter's crying. Big fuck. Tell her to put her big boy pants on. She's got a faggot father. She looks a little dark to me. Who the fuck's her father? Where'd you grow up? Where? Philadelphia. Her father's probably fucking Randall Cunningham. Yeah, the fucking shine. The big spook quarterback. You fucking prick. I don't care if your best friend's black. He can suck my white cock through his cunt fucking dick rag. I'm making sense. I know how to talk to people. Just go check the orange juice for fuck. Yeah, I pissed in the orange juice again today. Yeah. Tell Sunkist another batch went bad. Because Chick Galante pissed in it. That's another $2 million I got to spend to fucking fumigate the fucking place, right? I don't give a fuck. You know who I'm with? I'm with the goddamn Campese. You don't grow up until you don't tell Chick Galante what the fucking do in Newark, not in Down Neck, you piece of cunt rag. This guy don't take no loans. He don't take no fucking loans. He tells me the other day, when he's dead and gone, we'll know what kind of a friend he was. Why don't you drop dead now so we can test your theory? You piece of cockfuck. I know Mario Bosco. Sure I know him. I'm the one who told him never to change the oil. It's too much money.
San Gennaro.
Never change the oil, I said to him. At the San Gennaro, who gives a fuck if some tourist from fucking Nebraska get fucking sick? Because of bad fucking oil. Tell him to prove it. The faggot dickwads. They all look like Dick Van Patten. You know why? Because they're dicks. The fucking waspy Medigan motherfuckers. I like the fucking, yeah, you Medigan fuck. You look like a Moulin Mensabaroque. It looks like, I know, what your daughter dating a yam? I heard the Knights of Columbus. I go there to drink on Dollar Beer Tuesdays. Who do you think I had the fucking idea for it? Motherfucker. This motherfucker over here tells me to bet on the fucking Oilers. Playoffs 1992. Warren Kuhn at quarterback. Piece of shit with the round face. Looks like Franklin on the fucking goddamn Charlie Brown. Big fucking spook with the round face. Warren Kuhn. Throws 5 interceptions. I got Artie by 7 o'clock. I'm down 14 G's because I bet on a spook quarterback. You mother. I don't care if it's racist. Fuck you. Your daughter dates one yam and I can't say Kuhn? This is Down Neck, Newark. I'll say what I want. You're lucky we let the Portuguese in with the goddamn restaurant. So the soup of the base becomes paella. Fuck off. It's soup of the goddamn base. Soup of the fish. Piece of shit. It ain't paella. Tony DiCanicas goes in there. He's got an Italian name. Tells him he's Portuguese. I almost fucking punch him in the cunt. Tony DiCanicas is a friend of mine. Tony D. He ain't Portuguese. He's human. Motherfucker. Someday the Mexicans are going to outnumber the humans. I see that on Channel 13. The Mexicans are going to outnumber the humans, they say. And the global warming. By 2038, Philadelphia is going to be the same climate as Miami. You know what I say? Who gives a shit? Instead of 3 hours on a plane, it's an hour to go down and bang some broad, a waitress at the Waffle House. I got 3 Gumads down in Miami. 2 in Boca Raton. The one is the stewardess at the Boca Nuts, the comedy club. Boca Nuts, I named it. I'm working on Hojoken up here. At Hoboken. Don't fucking make fun. It fucking tells you where it is. In that one title, it tells you it's a comedy club. Because of Hojoken. What the fuck is jokes? Piece of shit. Tells you it's in Hoboken, tells you it's jokes. All you need to know. You save time. You call up, you got that credit card scam we had working. The fucking, the credit card scam we had working? You know what I'm talking about. The half a shine from Brooklyn. He comes in. He's on Avenue A with free house breaking wee-wee pads with every purchase. Yeah. Randazzo's. He used to work at Randazzo's in Sheepshead Bay. I wrote the commercial. Come to Randazzo's for a wonderful meal. Chicken francese, fried calamari. And how about that hot sauce? Oh boy, is that hot. That's me, motherfucker. I'm in the Clio Hall of Fame, the Commercial Hall of Fame. I couldn't go myself. I sold the fucking unit. I sold the statue. I broke it up like a piece of fucking shit. I broke it up like a stolen Pontiac. I sold it for parts. I got a chop shop by Shea Stadium. I'm up to my ass in equity all along Route 3 in Secaucus. Secaucus! I'm trying to get the government to have a caucus in Secaucus. Could you imagine the marketing? Just think of it. The Secaucus caucus. We'll be all over it. What the fuck does Iowa get a caucus for? That don't sound like caucus. I tell him I got Secaucus right here. It rolls off the goddamn tongue, fuck nut. I'm sitting there with the councilman, what's his face? Amy Schumer. I said, Councilman, no, Chuck Schumer. Yeah, whatever. Who, by the way, Chuck Schumer seems a little flimsy. Him and that Ted Cruz, Flimsy Cruz. I told Flimsy Cruz, buy Mario Bosco's website. Fuck him. Then we'll blackmail him for it. We'll put Jap porn on there. Gay Jap porn. Did you ever see a gay Jap? Unbelievably sexy. It's fucking great shit. Hot action. Hot action. I was in the porn business before you were born. I invented the money shot. Lexington Steel. Yeah, sure. I'll tell you what, that guy's bad with money. He's got a Goyisha cup. All right, what's your story, Mario?
It's about the Yam in Coney Island.
All right, let's stop.
No, I'm serious.
We're out of time. What is it? Okay, what about it, Mario? Stop trying to be cool.
Yam came over to me.
Yom Kippur came over to you?
No, the Yam. He came over.
I don't stop trying to be cool like me. You don't have
charisma. He said, "What does a Yam mean?" And I said, "An eggplant."
Well, Mullen Yam.
Well, Mullen Yam, but we couldn't tell him
That's the story?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It is.
What's the story?
He bought candy off me all summer. Every time I turn around,
Are you trying to be funny? Trying to be funny?
I'm not trying to be funny at all.
Let's just cut this out. Mount Boredom erupting. What's the story?
That's the story.
Okay, the word yam happens to be in your story after I say it 3 times. No, you're trying to be like me. Everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to be like me because of my bone structure. All right.
You know, there's one part of the Mario story I forgot to tell you when we were supposed to go to the San Gennaro feast.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'm going to get going. I said, well, don't you have to sell your chocolate? He goes, no, I have an assistant here. I'm not going to stand out here with all these people.
Wait a minute.
What? He had an assistant.
You have an assistant?
Well, he was working for me at the feast.
Dude, how much money do you make?
Well, this year I lost $1,400.
Yeah, well, dude, what's going on? Is there angel dust in the candy?
No.
You have an assistant? Oh, God. You must talk to him. Oh, my God, the poor guy. It's the one place you're important.
He was a fat Greek kid. He was related to that kid that came
fat Greek kid
to the show.
Well, was he having a wedding? The fat Greek kid?
He wasn't having no wedding. Trust me.
My Big Fat Greek Reception. Is that the sequel? My Big Fat Greek Reception.
Couldn't sell a box of cookies to the.
So what? You find the retarded Greek and make fun of him?
Yeah, what am I gonna do? It's part of my nature.
I'm saying that's the one you find the one person that you can make fun of.
Is that why you were trying to talk to Boschetti? You want to get him as your assistant?
Yeah, I was gonna get him to stand there and sell cookies. He'd be doing good with that.
No, but he's not going to do that.
I'm kidding.
He's spoiled now. I spoiled him with a job. By the way, Boschetti, you tell us, put out a weird tweet. They're all weird, but he said it goes like this. We're trying to figure out this is about me or Stacey Pressman because the other night he just pissed me off so bad. He was supposed to come here and he didn't. I don't know what the hell that's about. I don't know. What does he think he's doing? Gino Muscante is ready for the loony bin.
You know what? If they didn't want to come, that's fine. Just text.
But no, they're doing it on purpose because nobody cares. Nobody cares about you.
They should be so honored to have this opportunity.
Just shut up. The phoniness.
I'm not phony at all.
I just want people to shut up. I don't want a compliment. I don't want anything.
Well, I owe you a compliment.
No, you owe me more than that.
Because you do enough for me.
Uber doesn't work on compliments. The Uber guy doesn't send you to Long Island because you say, hey, nice shirt. You piece of shit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't need your compliments. You don't owe me a compliment. You owe me about 1,800.
I want to know when I want to know when Bichetti and Bisconti.
Well,
open.
Bichetti and Bisconti, I don't know, got those two heads together and came up with no heads. Between Bichetti's enormous forehead and chin and cranium and the dark circles under Gino's eyes, Gino looks like a raccoon. An unfunny raccoon.
You mean a dead one?
Picture a raccoon who can do crowd work. You know what? He's so good at crowd work. Pretty soon he's going to be in the crowd.
Oh shit!
I take Gino to open for me at a construction site where this happened to me once before. Years ago, I did stand up when in a construction site for you millennials out there, elitists who've never worked with your hands. You got city hands, Hooper. You've been counting money all your life. Halfway through a big construction job, big like building in the city. When they reach the halfway mark on the job with the schedule, they have a big lunch party, and they give 18 Native Americans 14 shots of Zambuca and send them up. Send them up to the 28th floor and go rivet that in. Put in floors 28 through 92 today, right? When you finish the bottle of fucking wild turkey. So they have a big party. And they cater it, and they have entertainment. So years ago, my buddy who was in real estate, they asked for me to do stand-up. I was on Stern for a couple of years. And I did a half an hour, and then I ate with them. And $2,500 cash, not bad. And I felt like your assistant. And then but I had to follow one of the guys who did drywall. Was also an Elvis impersonator. One of the drywall guys was an Elvis impersonator, and he went first. I could barely follow him. He was amazing. He took his fucking sheetrock dusty pants off, and his fucking work boots and tool belt, and put on an Elvis jumpsuit, like the fat Elvis jumpsuit, but he was skinny. Boots, sideburns, wig, and his glasses, and belts out "Hunka Hunka Burnin' Love." Belts it out. And then Suspicious Minds. I had a request at the end. I said that you were always on my mind. Maybe I don't love you. And his beautiful voice over construction workers with a full mouth yelling faggot. In a Native American accent. So I followed him, but I got through it. So years later, the same guy goes, you know what, we're building one of the buildings over on the west side. And I passed by it by the tunnel. He goes, they're halfway through. And some of the union guys are going to be there. Union guys. Knock, knock, wink, wink. So I take Bisconti. I figure he's Paisan, right? I figure he'll open for me. Dan, you were at this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now we get there. You got to read. Listen, this is what happens. If you're mature and after you've been doing, Gino's been doing stand-up, I think, for 41 years. He started out at strip clubs, and he worked his way up to strip clubs. And I said to myself, okay, some of these guys, clearly connected. Like all these guys look like they were in the front row for Henny Young with the Copa. Circa 64. Telling Vinny Pazienza, good to see you. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink. What do you do? I'm in construction. You don't feel like you're in construction? I'm a union delegate. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Good fellas.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hold on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Just yell out movies. You know what I'm saying? Divergent series. You know what I'm saying? Memphis Belle. All right. You're not helping. Yeah, so whatever. That along those lines. So you got to read the thing. So some of them have wives there. And Gino, when we're on the road and the only people in the front row are dweebs from some frat, he gets a little nasty with them. But I figured he's a pro. Or so I thought. And he'd read the situation. And he wouldn't call Mr. and Mrs. Gotti cunts. Boy, was I wrong. Wow. Yeah, he gets up there and just starts, there's a woman with her husband who's clearly a union delegate. They're both notaries. And he just starts going, hey, look at this whore with the wig and the hairspray. What? Whore? and they're looking at each other like, what the fuck? It's a guy in a pantsuit with a leisure jacket on. Look like Louis Guzman in the Boogie Nights movie. Without Louis' cranium. And he didn't say Mira every 2 seconds. No, he's calling mafia guys wives, cunts, and whores.
The head table. He spoke to the head table.
Exactly. He said, head table, you give head? Ha, ha, ha. Unfunny shit. And one of the Irish guys was in charge of the food. The lettuce was white. The arugula was white. Okay? Medigan, paging Dr. Medigan. Terrible. So I get up there, and Gino's one of those comics who has like that wall up. He thinks he always does good no matter what.
Yeah.
You know? You could watch him bomb worse than anything, and he comes off thinking he just was Carlin on Carnegie Hall at the HBO special.
He wanted me to high five him.
Yeah. Well, he knows you'll do anything.
I didn't high five.
For a friend. And I get up there. Yeah, you didn't have to high five. I feel bad for you, Dan. I get up there and do 45 minutes. I needed a fucking a fire engine mechanical hook ladder to get the fuck out of that hole. I was in a hole deeper than the chick in Silence of the Lambs. I'm trying to do jokes, and the audience is yelling, "It puts the microphone in the stand." That's big a hole I was in. It puts the lotion on the microphone and puts it back in the stand. And then it gives us our money back. It puts the microphone back in the stand. It goes up on an elevator with Gino to the top floor, and it gets ready for us to throw him off. It puts the microphone in the stand, puts Vaseline on its body, and gets to the trunk of my Lincoln Continental.
Oh, and he introed you like one of my best friends.
Yeah,
it was like clearly.
Exactly. The guy who told me you were all cunts and whores. My real estate buddy who clearly is afraid of the mob guys looking at me like you're going to get me killed. Next time I saw him, he had one knee.
They gave us our cake in the shape of the building to go. Get out. Just take this to go.
Cake in the shape of a building. It's the shape of your cranium soon. Yeah, so anyway.
Get out.
So anyway. That's the guy who's teaching us a lesson. And I paid him. I would pay anybody. I made 15 grand. And I think I gave him like 2 G's. Of course, why not? You know how often he makes 2 G's? Never. Christ. Last time I took him on the road, he opened up for me in Detroit at the Royal Oak Theater. That's when I collapsed at the end of the show. I had pancreatitis. I had to go to the hospital for 9 days. 9 days. I got a catheter on me in Detroit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, my God. Detroit's worse without a catheter. And, yeah. He goes out. I overpay him again. He takes a big shit in my dressing room. I got you a fucking hotel room, you Gindaloon greaseball. I can say that. I'm Italian. And, yeah, then he had to go. Yeah, doing something. He goes, I'm going to L.A. I'm like, why? Why? L.A. is too crowded with the people in show business. Anyway, I love him. And Mike, I had tough love with Mike. I had tough love with him. I had to tell him honestly, you're not losing weight. Artie, look at me on Periscope. Jesus Christ, Jack LaLame. Hack LaLame. I could go on and on. All right, Mario, do you want to yell at any other movies?
What?
Do you want to yell at any other movies for no reason and not help me?
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the gangster and the...
Yeah, I know, but no. Whatever. I'm not going to explain it to you.
I would love to see Pachetti and Bisconti together in this room. Going head to head.
They've been in this room. I mean, everything you say is boring. I'm kidding. I love you. I do.
Well, I love you too.
All right. You got to get out of here. No, actually, take care, brush your hair. We're back. Rich Roeper, thank you so much. The great Mario Bisconti. Mario, what's your name? Mario Bosco, like the syrup. Yeah. Now, what are you coming in any other? You coming in this week, right? Is he coming in more?
If you want, yeah.
You want to come in? We're doing shows. What shows are we doing? I have to add. I did a character for a long time that may or may not be entertaining, but we're going to air it because that's what's great about a podcast. I have to add to that, and then we have 2 more other shows. So we're going to tape 3 more shows, and during the Thanksgiving week, that other show will air as a bonus. Right?
Yes.
So a lot of podcasting coming your way. Me and Danny have done 2,000 hours of podcast. These are in the archives. I hope people are listening. This is quality stuff. So tomorrow will be
Ben.
Who are we interviewing tomorrow?
Your buddy Ben from Cash Cab.
Oh, Ben Bailey.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
He'll be in here.
The great Ben. He's coming in live, right?
Yes.
The great Ben Bailey. Great comic, and hosted that great show, Cash Cab. Had a lot of fans, and me and my uncles were on it. It's great.
And
we'll talk about that. So Ben's coming tomorrow night. What time? 9?
He's coming at 8.
Oh, good. All right.
Because he's got a set late.
Right. Okay. He's always in the cellar. Good man. Great comic.
And then Wednesday is Joe Buck.
The great Joe Buck.
In the afternoon.
Joe's got a great book out that I read called Lucky Bastard. And I'm in a full chapter. Like I said before, the Norm book, my life has been such a chaotic fuck-up. Now books are being written about what happened, and I can't remember it. 2 books in the last month have come out, and I'm like, I'm just doing loser thing after loser thing. But somehow I made it here. Podcasting with Mario Bosco. And then that's it, right?
Yeah.
And then I add on to something?
Yes. You know what? Ann Coulter said that she was going to be on this week, so maybe we could do the Jesse thing after the Ann Coulter.
Oh, great. Oh, and Ann.
Yeah.
Talk about relevance. Joe Buck has a book out. Ben Bailey has a book out. And, of course, Ann Coulter with the Trump thing. And Mario Bosco, I think, because of Coney. I guess Coney Island's still there, right? And Richard Roeper with holiday movies.
Tomorrow we have Mario Bosco's assistant.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's bring him in. How much? We should call that the biggest loser ever. My big fat Greek kid. He's little and fat?
No, he's tall and fat.
And he's Greek?
And he's Greek.
Oh, my God. Does he have knuckle hair?
Yeah, and he has
That's the worst. If you find hair, if you find hair in pancakes,
unibrow.
He has a unibrow.
Not Nuna.
Luna, what the fuck?
I don't know. Una Dunham. Listen. Oh yeah, that's right. So I hate knuckle hair. Like if I'm in a diner and I get a hair in a pancake, I just hope it's not the knuckle, the knuckle hair. So great podcasting still to come before Thanksgiving, a bonus show after Thanksgiving. We're just giving and giving and giving. And some of you pay and others take.